Hello again, folks. This is Mortuf Damaji with Rockwa Forcebreaker and Serena Sable of the Pantheon Purgatory on the North American server of Skyforge. Today we're looking at Port Naori. It is the second of 30 3-man instances released in Open Beta of Skyforge. Alright, starting at the beginning, let's go ahead and look at the map. It's a real short map. It's just 3 bosses in here. The first objective is in that circle. First pull here, I'm just going to show you just because that DPS right there is a pretty standard DPS found throughout the dungeon. There's 2 little pack mobs along the sides. They die pretty easily, so we're going to go ahead and knock them out right now. We do have the objective, Know Thy Enemy. It's a bonus objective on the right hand side of the screen there, so we get points for killing creatures inside of the camera, so you'll see that camera pop up periodically during pulls. So this DPS here is a pretty standard DPS, has a pretty good amount of health but not a lot, and his special ability, that shock ability, does pretty decent damage if you're caught in front of it. So whenever he does that charge up where lightning goes between his 2 hands, like right there, you want to go ahead and get out of the way of that. If you do it too late, it'll go ahead and find you. And the only reason I'm showing that is because there's another new unit here. It's this thug unit right here on the right hand side with the shield over his head. He's got a special ability that he builds up a wave of water around him right there. And you just want to make sure you get out of the area of effect for that. It's just centered on his person. Now we're looking at Furious Harpo. This is the first boss. He's got this charged sort of enrage that he does, where he'll move slowly but he does significantly more damage. So if you're tank, you just want to go ahead and kite him when he's doing that. He also has that directional frontal attack that charges up a water wave, and you want to go ahead and make sure you get out of the way of that if you're the tank. Also, you'll see here one of our DPS doesn't realize she's directly behind the tank, and then a directional attack will hit her and knock her out, but luckily she's a necromancer, so she gets a second chance. Alright. You can see our tank here went ahead and stayed at the took the damage from the enrage. Definitely don't want to do that if you are playing this at level, at it like more of an impossible or hard level. For us, I think this is easy because this is the first one and we're pretty decent level. Other than that, boss isn't terribly difficult. Okay, so after that we get new objectives. We're supposed to kill these 4 clutches of eggs that are in the next area. And these enemies, there are 3 enemies, and you can really just skirt around them, these naiads, and kill the clutches without affecting them. Each clutch spawns 3 more adds, and that's what we're dealing with at this point. They're all pack mobs, so they die pretty easily. Any amount of AoE and stuns can help speed that along. Alright, so we go ahead and we slip in behind this naiad and kill these guys. Our tank went ahead and pulled the far clutch that was closest to the entry point, so we go ahead and we're going to knock all of these pack mobs out together. And we did draw aggro from this one naiad. Fortunately, it is the naiad that we generally normally kill. Naiad's abilities, she has a targeted AoE that appears at the random player's feet. so that's something to be careful of. Make sure you're not standing in it. It looks like a little puddle of water. And also, she also has a pretty strong attack. So if you're doing this at an impossible level, you may need to bring somebody with good shields or tank abilities. Other than that, she's got a pretty significant amount of HP, so it takes a little while to get her torn down, but we go ahead and we take care of that. And then we slip over here while this Naod is patrolling away and get the last clutch and pull them back. So easily able to avoid those attacks if you choose to, but they are full DPS and will normally spawn sparks when you kill them. Alright, the last boss, Loris the Stormclaw and Ajura. Starts out, Loris is out here, and Ajura will hide in that storage container right there until you damage Stormclaw enough. So you go ahead and start the attack. Loris has only 2 abilities really. He's got this directed beam attack in front of him, and it's a charged ability, so you have plenty of time to get out of the way right there. And you damage him enough and he activates his second ability, which is Assistant. So you damage him enough, Ajura comes out, he'll put up a shield, and you can see it swirling around him, so he takes less damage. So if you go ahead and attack her at this point, her abilities is Water Strike, which is puts a fairly large 4-yard AoE on the ground, looks like a roll pool, and Caution, which basically is the ability that if she sustains enough damage, she'll run back into that container. So this fight's pretty simple. You just want to be able to switch targets whenever she comes out. She's out, and here's the first time you'll see the water strike. Appeared right below her there. Alright, so we cut ahead and we see that we just kill Loris. Ajura comes out. She's enraged at this point. If you kill either one of them, they enrage and attack much faster. And it's just a DPS race at this point. And we go ahead and kill her. If you make the mistake of targeting only one of them, that enrage time is obviously much longer because you have to kill the other one completely. So that's why you want to go ahead and kill both of them at the same time. These units are the only ones we haven't covered. These enchanter units that you see with the triangles over their heads, those are they will put up a defensive shield affecting anything under them. You'll see one put a bubble up in a second. The only way to get rid of that bubble is to the person that he was targeting to leave the bubble. It sort of pops it. The other units here are these DPS units. They will put a targeted AoE, like that, right at the feet of a random player, and you just don't want to stand in that because it does significant damage. Other than that, they're not terribly difficult. But they are all range, so that leads to difficulty in tanking because it's hard to bundle them all up. And they will actually go apart if you suck them together with one of your tanking abilities. Alright, Namita. Namita has a moray shield, which is, she calls these morays that are floating around her to sort of swirl closer to her body, and she takes significantly less damage when that's in effect. And she has Call of the Ocean, which summons these adds. The adds can vary. Mostly they're all adds that you can see within the dungeon somewhere. Standard kelp. The tank unit will put out a AoE target around his body. The damage DPS units here will obviously just use their charge directional attack, and you'll also find two different types of enchanter units. One is two-legged, sort of salamander-looking thing that will do a frontal cone and disorient its targets. The other one is a naiad that is just like the last packs I showed you, and they will basically put up their shield like you've seen. So this is a fight. She puts up her shield and calls the kelp. You kill the kelp, and the shield goes down. And we're going to jump ahead. After she hits 4 bars, she no longer has the shield, and she will no longer summon adds. She also attacks faster at this point. Her attack speed is increased. So it's really a DPS race at this point. I had higher difficulties for you. You want to make sure you keep the tank alive and just whittle her down. Alright, and that's Namita. Anyway, this has been Mortuf Tamaji, Rakwa Forcebreaker, and Serena Sable of the Pantheon Purgatory in the North American server of Skyforge. Appreciate you listening. Go ahead and follow us on YouTube. We're going to make a series of all 3- and 5-man dungeons before we move on to raid content. Thank you.